Welcome. Yes, I'm glad to be able to do this with you. First of all, happy International Women's Day. I'm glad to be celebrating International Women's Day on the theme of embracing innovation and technology. And I'm just so glad that you can, I can interview you and learn a little bit more about, the tech field and your story. How are you doing?
So, Isioma, thank you so much. I'm also glad, I'm excited to be celebrating this way, and I'm happy to be able to provide information for anyone that will require that, especially the young upcoming women that will want to go into tech. So I'm actually excited to be here. Thank you for having me, Isioma.
Awesome. So let's get started and get into the question. First of all, what was your story in getting into tech, and how did you decide that you want to be a professor?
So very, very interesting. And it's been an exciting career filled with adventures and also lessons learned, as well as breakthroughs. So I started off as an engineer.
Wow.
Initially, I had this, everybody has this craze of having either becoming a doctor, engineer, pharmacist, or whatever. But mine was engineering because I felt okay, I could do well. So I started off, I was a metallurgical and materials engineer. Originally, I studied engineering. However, usually engineers also have to do their internship. So during my industrial training in Project Development Institute in Lagos, PRODA, I guess that's what it's still called. So I also discovered another career. So I'm also encouraging women to explore and be very open. So truly, I initially I felt okay, engineering, and that's it. But I just realized that okay, so there they had products. Remember, it's engineering, so I was dealing with materials, and they had lots of products, and nobody was coming up to do anything like to patronize or even the outside world. So I just said, you know what? I told the director, we can actually exhibit this. And then he said, so how? And then at least I knew about the websites and I knew people were, exhibiting their products online. So I said, let's place this online. And truly, I just started, I didn't really know. I just learned on my own, and that was it. So he now said, this is wonderful because people now started, they now started having people turning. And so anyway, that was it. So they encouraged me, and with that I started learning on my own. And I eventually, even after completing my career, my profession as a metallurgical engineer, because initially I wanted to actually go into the oil industry. That was the catch. So, but I just realized that I also had another flair, I had another love, and that was computer science. So I now went into computer science, did my master's and the PhD. And well, of course, during my youth service, I also discovered that I had this fulfillment from teaching young people, like I realized that it wasn't just about the money. I wasn't paid so much, but I had this zeal and eagerness to impart knowledge, and I felt so sorry for a number of them that didn't really have good background, so that I actually put in, and I just thought to myself, you know what, even though initially I used to think, I teacher, never. I now decided, I now went into it. So that was why I had to further, go into my master's. So alongside all this, I now took up a task because I now had some skills in IT. And so I became a network engineer, a network administrator. Then I also managed some hotel systems, like I now started getting used to systems. So I just realized that I was becoming better and better. And so that was it. So that now remember that I also had another, apart from, because I took up a job, but at the back of my mind. So alongside my work, I was now doing my master's and then eventually the PhD at the University of Nigeria in Nsukka. And then that was it. So then my projects, at the time, we also started witnessing a lot of cyber attacks. And so I decided to do my research focusing on the DDoS, because that was trending. And so DDoS means distributed denial of service attack, because systems were becoming clogged, and everything was going. So I did a research on that, and that was it. And so I went into cybersecurity, and today that's where I've found myself, and it's been so exciting because really lots of grants. Well, alongside, I didn't tell you that based on this keenness of making learning accessible to learners and women especially, I actually went into some research on providing assistive technologies. So some of us will be able to see some of my works. I started off with the multimedia, so making learning more interesting. Then I also have, and I still have, a passion for inclusiveness. So most of the resources that we have does not include those with disabilities. So I actually have some works also around that. But remember that I now took up this cybersecurity aspect. So in addition to all this, I still also have works around data protection. And currently we got some grants. In fact, I've gotten some grants from all these things I'm saying, mobile learning, because UNESCO, e-learning, many supports, because people, but many bodies now started getting interested, and that was it. So I got scholarship, and then currently also I have grants, and some students, in fact, currently are under this grant, the Digital Science and Technology Network. It's a network that is also funded by INRIA, a French Institute of Research. So it's been exciting and very, very wonderful. Thank you.
Wow, that's so interesting. From engineering, decided to get into ICT, getting your master's, like that's amazing. And also, I just wanted to know, like, based on what you just talked about, as it relates to getting into researching cybersecurity, things like that, could you also provide us with information on how, like women and girls especially, we can be safe online, or how to just make sure that your information online is safe? Just a few details about that.
Okay, so basically, we know that we're in the digital era.
Yes.
And so it's really an era where everything, we actually, by the way, the new oil is no longer oil.
Okay.
It's data.
Okay.
Guess what? Data. Guess what? Google, Facebook, all these firms, they're making money, but people ask how is with the data that you provide. So now most of the resources and all the things, in fact, most offices are online, in fact. So for women, especially those in IT, we have to also be very careful to ensure that we protect our data. So of course, cybersecurity has to do with, protecting systems, networks, programs, and anything digital at all. So because sometimes we just think of, and so cybersecurity has gone beyond the four walls, like just the systems, the networks. It's now beyond that. So we need to protect data while on rest, I would say, in motion, and also when it gets to the user. So that what are we talking about? We're talking about ensuring that we have confidentiality, integrity, and availability. So you see, banks will complain, there's no network. Sometimes it's that their systems have been bugged, or in fact, during COVID, a number of banks were actually attacked by the ransomware, some DDoS, but they wouldn't tell you. And it's out of, not taking care of some of these things I've mentioned. So availability means ensuring that, the data you have is available to the authorized user. So it shouldn't be, and and also ensuring that whenever the user needs it, it's accessible to the user. Then confidentiality has to do with ensuring privacy. So it's only the authorized user, or that has. So anyway, the basic thing is, first of all, the current trending matter is the matter of because of all the issue around, especially here in Africa and in Nigeria, the banking issues. So a number of people get text messages about their customer service unit because they're desperate. okay, just provide this detail. Please do not click on links without, like confirming, because there are lots of phishing going on. There's been lots of phishing. Phishing means they will lure you to provide information or to click on something, and then with that they will now be able to access all your details. So please be careful about that. Then we need to also ensure that we upgrade and always ensure that our systems are in, for example, the operating system, the viruses are updated. People say, no, there's no point. I have virus. And then it's the it's the version of 2007. Definitely you'll be attacked. So anyway, to ensure that we are safe, we need to take care of some of that. And then also, don't give out your passwords. Another very popular one. In fact, a number of people, with this thing of the, everybody is now online, digital banking and all.
Yeah.
Some just give their password to someone else, and what happens? The money goes. So please, let's be careful about some of these things. And so I think that's it. Some of the tips, just the little tips. But there are lots of tips, but let's just, because of the main one, let's just share. Yes.
Thank you. We have to be careful, password protection, and be careful about information we provide to others online, phishing, things like that. I actually wanted to know, is there particular information that we shouldn't be providing online? How would we know, like, if this is not safe? Because when you said phishing, you didn't really specify what sort of information should you be wary about when somebody asks you.
Okay, so basically, your password is one of them.
Password,
your bank details.
Bank details, okay.
They wouldn't, in fact, the banks will always tell you that, let me just use a vague bank. Onion Bank will never tell you to provide your details online, or they will always tell, but sometimes people fall into these traps. Then also, even as a student, you shouldn't give your details, your login details to another person, or just keep it carelessly, and then also to be aware that sometimes we're so excited with the social media, we post things. Interestingly, people can actually track where you are, what you're doing, and all, if you just post things anyhow. So we need to be careful about the information we share.
Exactly.
If it's not necessary, don't share. If it's necessary, of course, by all means. If it's a program you want to have and you want to invite, but if it's not necessary, don't just share for the sake of sharing. Interestingly, some young children have been kidnapped based on the information their parents provided. How? Because they're having vacation, we're on vacation here, and then that, and then that, and then in fact everything. So somebody just made sure to. In fact, then another one, somebody just for the fun of it, because cyber attack sometimes is for the fun of it. So somebody just had to prove to the parents, this thing you're sharing, I was able to locate you at this time, and this is what you're doing here. Everything.
Imagine.
So,
wow. Yeah, that's a great thing. Yeah, thanks for mentioning that, because sometimes we're excited to share where we are on social media, but we don't know who could be, watching and how they could track our movement. So sometimes it's always best to do things after you have been in that particular place or location. Thank you so much. So let's go on to the next question, which is about, you said you had a passion for teaching and, encouraging students, even though you didn't initially think that you would get into that field. So how would you advise your students who are trying to, get into the course, studying ICT and wanting to get into the field? How do you usually try to advise them?
Okay, so the first step is being focused and, determined. Because sometimes, like I said, since we're in the digital era, students are usually restless, especially the digital natives. Why you say the digital natives, I think I'm a migrant, because some of the students I have were born now, just in the present time, maybe in their teens, their teenagers and all. So I would suggest that they get focused, because IT, you need to be focused for IT. And then of course, you know that in IT, you're constantly learning. So you also need to be ready to be innovative, constantly updating, improving your skills. Then, of course, as whatever theory you're learning, ensure that you practicalize it right there as a student. I always tell my students, let's not, we're gone are the days when, you know, you're waiting for an office job. Get into the work already as a student. And so usually my students get hands-on projects on the courses that they do. We don't need to wait till the end of the program. For example, in your 4th year or in your 5th year, depending on the course you're doing, start then hands-on. So any principle that we learn, I encourage them to. And then, of course, in the National Open University of Nigeria, we have this collaboration with the industry where our students, even as postgraduates, go to practice, you know, what they learn. And we also have learning platforms, Oracle, Cisco, IBM. So these resources that we have free of charge. The whole idea is they want our students to gain, to be career ready. And we also, for me, I encourage the students, make the most of these resources because you won't get it after school. As professionals, you pay through your nose some $300, $400 to get some of these things. But so the idea is, of course, these companies, it's not as if at the end, in the long run, they want you to get certified, but there's some free certifications that you can still get. So try to get some of these and then be relevant, because in the IT world, if you're not skilled, the certificate will not get you any job.
Yeah.
In fact, most of industries and organizations will tell us, please, we're interested in some of, because they already know that these students go for IT, their projects are relevant, so they're able to now, you know, key into some of the, but some, I mean, for us, it's important that these students get career ready. So while you're at it, I encourage all the students, and I try to mentor and encourage them, just be focused. You know, there's time for everything because there are lots of distractions. So we'll get focused, and then you become one of the best. You become a digital expert, as it's called, you know, because if you're not focused, you might just get so dissipated. So that's it.
Awesome. They should get focused, and hands-on experience matters a lot. They shouldn't wait till the end of the course to really start practicalizing. Awesome. And now, lastly, I just want to talk about what are some of the benefits of, you know, working in ICT, studying ICT. How do you see some of the advantages?
Ooh, lots and lots. In fact, career-wise, lots of advantages. Then, of course, virtue-wise, first of all, let me focus, since we're talking about the career. So we have lots of fields in IT currently, and in fact, we have about 5 of them trending, but 3 more, you know, more in the focus, like the artificial intelligence, which is quite broad. And interestingly, IT is so broad. Then we have cybersecurity. We also have data science. And in all these 3 fields, in fact, it's always, there's always some innovation, there's always some novelty. So there are lots, and in fact, all these aspects and areas that I've mentioned. For example, let me focus on my own area, cybersecurity. You can go into pen testing, you can go into auditing, you can become an incident manager. There are lots of, then for AI, robotics, machine language, natural language experts, or any like speech recognition, all sorts of. Then of course with the data science, we have data analytics. You also have management information system, by the way, which is quite huge, which you can actually use data to predictive, you know, business intelligence and all. In fact, a whole lot of so my own, and what we usually advise is try to get specialized in a particular area. My own is cybersecurity, and then try, even within the cybersecurity, you can still get more specialized. For example, I'm into data protection. So you now have like your own field where, but there's a plethora of, you know, opportunities. And so in fact, high paying job. And these days you don't need to stay. That's why I always encourage you don't need to wait for someone to employ you. You can already become a web developer. I'm talking about some students that even during their IT, while they're waiting, and already start earning, in fact.
Yeah.
You know, and there are many companies now hire, in the sense of, I mean, like pen testers or whatever, or even business intelligence experts, incident man, whatever. So what I'm saying is there are lots, but just try to specialize, find out where you're skilled, and then focus, and then good.
Awesome.
But always be innovative so that you
Awesome.
can.
And lastly, since the whole theme of International Women's Day is around gender equality, do you have any message for women, young female students, and just the tech field? How would you what is your final message for them when it comes to gender equality and females?
So for the females, I'm saying that we have all it takes.
Yeah.
We have all it takes, because in the tech world, it's all about discovery, innovation, and we have all the potentials. However, I want to encourage the women or young females that are currently coming up, because sometimes there are challenges. I'm aware of the challenges about not having support, equal support. Maybe they are male, maybe the brothers are giving more attention or even provide and then there are some limitations, because maybe after secondary school or after university, they'll say, okay, it's okay. I mean, we can't waste money. I'm just talking about in Africa, and in Nigeria precisely. There are some parts of Nigeria where even primary school, they'll tell you it's a waste of funds, please. And that's why sometimes, not even sometimes, usually I try to get support also. We've done some projects where we get support and funding for female. So because really, at the end of the day, you find out that they're very skilled. So I want to encourage, our young females to go out there and become digital experts. They have all it takes. But what they just need to do is to be focused and to be determined, and then to invest in their development. You can't become an expert just by sitting down watching others and complaining, or just you need to develop. So invest in developing yourself, and then of course usually also explore, because there are lots of opportunities for supporting women. I've been able to get some funding, because of all this mobile learning, and so let's explore and let's get out and become the best.
Yay, awesome. Invest, develop, and explore. That would be it for our interview. Thanks so much, Vivian. It was really great talking to you, and just continue to keep doing what you're doing.
Thanks, Isioma. Thank you for having me, and keep up this good project also.
Yes,
Bye.
I will. All right, take care. Have a good night. Bye.